Blood Moon 2026. Did you go out and see it this morning? Everyone, Johnny here, don't speak news. Well, this would be news everyone's speaking about. It's kind of hard to miss. I know some of you had cloud cover, so you couldn't see it, and that's usually the case for us here in Spokane. But today I was able to go out and actually witness it, so I was grateful that I woke up at 2:30 in the morning. And at about 3, I got reminded that, hey, it's the Blood Moon morning. So I went out and took a look, and I have to say, it was a lot darker and foreboding than I thought it would be. It wasn't like this. It was more so like this, where I could barely see any red. I didn't even see this much red on the outside edge of the moon. It was all dark, like a dark crimson red, and kind of foreboding. And so I thought, wow, it just made me think of the great and terrible day of the Lord that's coming and how important it is to be on the right side of that. Seek Jesus Christ now while he may still be found. Make him your Lord and Savior today, because that day is coming. God's wrath is coming soon, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of that. So, anyway, if you saw it, let me know what you thought. Let me know how it looked for you in the comments. Now, on to the news at hand. Here we go. I saw this story almost first thing this morning. Military leaders say the Iran war is happening so that Trump can bring about Armageddon. Troops have logged more than 110 complaints about such comments with the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. So this is from the new republic.com. This is mainstream, guys. This isn't some fringe Substack blog that, like others have been saying on social media. No, this is a mainstream story. And these are actual complaints that have been put up on these Military Religious Freedom Foundation boards. So here we go. Without any clear message coming from the White House with regard to the purpose of the Iran war, U.S. military commanders have turned to Jesus, apparently telling American troops that the war is biblically sanctioned. Nowhere in the scripture does it say the United States is supposed to go to war on behalf of Israel. It just doesn't say that. That was not instructed, nor is it sanctioned. But it was said it was, Armageddon's going to happen, obviously. But the U.S. joined Israel in striking Iran early Saturday morning. By Monday evening, the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, or MRFF, was inundated with complaints, receiving more than 110 grievances from U.S. military personnel stationed at dozens of sites across the Middle East, reported independent journalist Jonathan Larson. One such note included an anecdote from a non-commissioned officer who reported that their commander had urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan, and he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. Now, where have we heard this before? Well, we heard it from the Jews, specifically from the Chabad organization, that they need to do this in order to bring about the return of their Messiah. In 2003, Wolfgang Eggert predicted Chabad would start World War III. This is from henrymakow.com. Says here, 22 years ago, German historian Wolfgang Eggert warned us that the Rothschilds belong to a fanatical doomsday cult that is instigating a world war to cleanse the world of non-Satanists. So Lubavitcher Schneerson, right here, standing over Trump in this portrait, who died in 1994, said Chabad Kabbalists, Illuminati, would implement the biblical prophecy of Armageddon in order to hasten the return of the Messiah and establish Jewish supremacy. It says here that all human history is about messianic satanic Judaism. They're making it happen. History and politics are a big movie, and they are the directors, bringing Old Testament prophecy into reality. And that's what these military leaders are espousing today, what the Chabad organization is pushing them into. And the Kabbalists publicly discuss their plot to kill millions right here at this link. Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu all belong to Chabad. World wars are hoaxes to destroy and depopulate. Freemasons are on both sides. None are so blind as those whom refuse to see. And like it says here, now this is from 2003, updated, of course. A Munich-based historian, Wolfgang Eggert, believes Orthodox Jews called Chassidim want to instigate a nuclear holocaust to fulfill biblical prophecy. He thinks these religious fanatics must be exposed. The largest Chassidim group, the Chabad Lubavitcher Lubavitcher sect want to hasten Armageddon, which they believe is a prerequisite for the Messiah's return. Egger quotes a Lubavitcher rabbi who says, "The world is waiting for us to fulfill our role in preparing the world to greet Mashiach, i.e., Messiah." And there you go. This is why this war is happening, more so than anything else. It isn't so much about Epstein and blackmailing Trump that way and so on and so forth. That's what people see in the physical world. On the spiritual side of things, this is what's going on. The Chabad Lubavitchers think that they need to bring about Armageddon, this huge battle to, we're pitting everyone, essentially the world against Israel. They think that needs to happen in order to bring about the return of their Messiah. And then, of course, they think they're going to rule the world with him from Jerusalem at that point. But their Messiah is the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is Donald Trump. And he's the one directing this war, which is why I put up that video the other day. Who can make war with the beast? And I took all this cross-referenced scriptures and put them together in one video. That's who Trump is. And that's why this war is happening. And this is why, we're almost to the end of the Great Tribulation, not at the beginning like some people think. There is no pre-tribulation rapture. We've been in the tribulation for a long time. It's just not many can see it, unfortunately. We have so much deception, especially in terms of the dispensationalist gospel. And now we have pastors and preachers praying for the synagogue of Satan, the nation state of Israel, and Mystery Babylon, America. John Hagee was leading him last weekend. And so, right here, military leaders complain about evangelical Zionism and military ranks claiming that the war with Iran is biblically sanctioned. Where do you think that all comes from? Chabad Lubavitch and pastors like John Hagee, who should actually be called Rabbi Hagee. Because he's all about the Jews, Israel first. They have a separate covenant with God, so therefore they don't need Jesus Christ. That's what he preaches. That's what most Christian Zionists preach. We're not supposed to evangelize the Jews. They have their own separate covenant that they're all good with God. Doesn't matter if they're murdering, killing, stealing, raping. Doesn't matter. Genociding. They're God's chosen people. They have a separate covenant. They're all good to go. Unbelievable. So here's another part of this story from Health Impact News, but he's reporting from the same source that I am. Right here. So the NCO's complaint was lodged on behalf of 15 troops, including 11 Christians, 1 Muslim, and 1 Jew, according to Larson. The officer stated that such remarks destroy morale and unit cohesion are in violation of the oath that we swore to support the Constitution, which includes freedom of religion. This morning, our commander opened up the combat readiness status briefing by urging us not to be afraid as to what's happening with our combat operations in Iran right now. He said that President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth, the NCO continued. He had a big grin on his face when he said all of this, which made his message seem even more crazy. It wouldn't be a stretch to blame some of the blatant constitutional violations on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who has repeatedly evoked God and Christian nationalism in his time fronting the Pentagon. Hegseth has parroted the views of Douglas Wilson, a conservative theologian who advocated for Christian dominance over government and society. He has followed through in practice, instating regular prayer services at America's military headquarters. He also entered office with several Christian symbols already emblazoned on his skin, a Jerusalem cross and the face Deus Vult, in which Hegseth has described as emblems of the modern-day American Christian crusade. Unbelievable. U.S. service members are afforded the religious liberty protections in the First Amendment. They're supposed to be. They also have a legal right to seek religious accommodations. And the MRFF told Larson that it has been overwhelmed with complaints about commanders who are apparently tapping into the same sort of Christian nationalism espoused by the Pentagon chief. These calls have one damn thing in freaking common, one MRFF client service member who seek MRF aid report the unrestricted euphoria of their commanders and command chains as to how new biblically sanctioned war is clearly the undeniable sign of the expeditious approach of the fundamentalist Christian end times as vividly described in the New Testament book of Revelation. That's according to MRFF president and founder Mikey Weinstein, a veteran of the Air Force and Reagan White House. Many of their commanders are especially delighted with how graphic this battle will be, zeroing in on how bloody all this must become in order to fulfill and be in 100% accordance with fundamentalist Christian end of world eschatology. Yeah, it's just the wrong eschatology. They're trying to take over the Middle East and over the world and all the governments because they think they need to have their version of this Christian utopia, this golden age, which is nothing of the kind. It's nothing that was ever sanctioned by the scriptures. But they think that it is because they're with this dispensationalist theology that John Hagee promotes all the time. And they think this is some kind of, like it says here, the Holy Crusade. It's nothing of the sort. They're all deceived. But nonetheless, they're going to continue on with this. So I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. As it says here, as the U.S. struggles to form a cohesive, State Department head Marco Rubio was cornered and let the cat out of the bag. That Israel dragged the U.S. into this war, just like Chabad Lubavitch wanted them to be. The remark, though not at all surprising, reverberated online and even alienated die-hard MAGA pundits. The president made the very wise decision. We knew there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties. So we're fighting for Israel, is what he's saying here. American troops are now dying for the nation state of Israel, the synagogue of Satan. The imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed that they would be attacked, they would immediately come after us. We were aware of the Israeli intentions and understood what it would mean for us and had to be prepared to act as a result of it. They've been planning this since during Trump's 2024 election campaign. Bibi's been on record now saying that he and Trump have been planning this for a long time, before Trump came back into office. So this was all predicted ahead of time. In fact, I'm going to put together a compilation video today, God willing, that will show you how this is predicted and put together well ahead of time. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I've been watching today, and I've been looking at it to put it together in a compilation. And like I said, God willing, I'll get that done today. Anyway, so he's flat out telling us that we're in a war with Iran because Israel forced our hand. This is basically the worst possible thing he could have said. But that's what the truth is. And there's more commentary here on Rubio's remarks from retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. The Iranian financial minister commented on X saying, Mr. Rubio admitted what we all knew. The U.S. has entered a war of choice on behalf of Israel. There was never any so-called Iranian threat. No. And the Iranians were negotiating in good faith to show the entire world who the aggressors were here. And that the plan all along was war. And it was all because of what the Jews wanted. Particularly the Chabad Lubavitch sect, who want to hasten Armageddon, which they believe is a prerequisite for the Messiah's return. That's what's going on here. But nobody sees it because they don't look at this stuff. They think that's all just nonsense. We have to look at the political, geopolitical spectrum and blah, 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 blah. Nonsense. These people think they're killing people on behalf of God, and they're doing God a favor, just like he predicted. And yet they're not. They're absolutely not. They're on the wrong side of all this. And yet, the military commanders are trying to convince their troops that this is all biblically sanctioned and that Trump was sent by God to usher in the new age with Jesus. But it's the wrong Jesus. The Jews don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. They believe there's a different Messiah coming, And many rabbis are on record saying that that Messiah is Donald Trump, that he's from the line of David. That's what they're saying. I don't care what you believe. That's what they're saying. That's what they believe. So they believe they have their man, and then he's doing what they want him to do, and what he's been appointed to do, according to their version of the end times, according to their version of Scripture, the Talmud and the Kabbalah. So that's what's going on, guys. And that's why U.S. commanders are saying that the Iran war is so Trump can bring about Armageddon, because that's the plan. That's truly what the Jews believe, and that's what they're shooting for. And that'll be it for now. God bless. Take care. Johnny Storm. Don't Speak News.